In this lesson, we're going to learn the reverse roundhouse kick. So, reverse roundhouse kick, a fantastic surprise kick that's very, very powerful, very, very dangerous in martial arts. Some people mistakenly call this, some people call it a turning kick, some people, there's lots of different kicks in Taekwondo and Hapki-Do that involve turning. So if you call, for example, a roundhouse kick a turning kick, it's not specific enough. There's too many kicks that involve turning. And here's another example. So roundhouse kick, we use the name roundhouse kick to describe this. I believe it derives from boxing, where you have a roundhouse punch. So a roundhouse punch was a big looping punch in boxing, and then when you shorten it up and come this way, then it becomes a hook in boxing. That shorter, quicker, with snap on it, it becomes a hook. But when you just throw a big looping punch in boxing, it was referred to as a roundhouse punch. So you call it a roundhouse left or a roundhouse right. And so when martial arts was brought over to North America, people could very quickly see, when you start doing this for a kick, people say, that's a roundhouse kick. And so the name stuck. And so the most common name for this technique is roundhouse kick. It's not a turning kick, it is a roundhouse kick, because there are many kicks that involve turning in Taekwondo and Hapkido. So you're not being specific if you call something turning kick. So this is roundhouse kick, and then not surprisingly, reverse roundhouse kick is going the other direction. That is a reverse roundhouse kick. So this one, we're kicking with a straight leg, and you're making a broad, sweeping path. So conceivably, if there were 2 or 3 people standing in front of you, you could come around with this kick and hit all 3 of them, coming through, boom, boom, boom. If they were all standing in a row, you have to think in your mind that you're making a big sweeping path with this kick, and you're going to just destroy whatever is in front of you. So the kicking leg is back, like this. So from a kicking stance, you're going to pivot on this front foot, and you're going to come around and hit. Draw the leg back, and when we're stepping forward, this is then going to become the front leg. So I'm just doing it with no step right now, just to show you the movement. Make sure I have enough space. So just to show the movement with no step involved, you're going to pivot your upper body, come around and kick, and then down. Okay? So when we're stepping forward, you're going to kick, okay, and then put this foot down in front afterwards, and then we'll change legs and do the other side. But here, another thing that I see is some schools will stop this technique too early. Don't do that. Don't rob yourself of the full motion of this technique. Some schools, they'll come around and they'll stop the kick here, and then you'll see them just kind of put their leg down. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? Like, what did you just kick with that technique? The opponent is here. The opponent is directly in front of you. So when you're fighting, your opponent is directly in front of you. That's what you're hitting. So with this technique, this is a blind technique, if you will. You don't see your opponent again until after you've hit them with this technique. So there is risk involved with a reverse roundhouse kick, because you have to take your eyes off your opponent. Even just for a brief moment, you have to take your eyes off your opponent. And in that time, they could potentially move to another position. You don't pick them up again until you come around and complete the kick. By then, you can't stop it anymore at that point. You're coming through full power. It should come straight across, you know, parallel to the ground. And the striking tool is ball of the foot is what we tend to use, again, for maximum reach. We want to hit with the ball of the foot. When you do board breaking with this technique, we will use the heel. Basically the heel base or the heel back, if you want to call it that. This part of the heel is what we will use for board breaking. But for sparring, if you're hitting a human opponent, you want your foot to be this way, and you want to come around and hit ball of the foot to get that maximum reach. If you hit somebody with this technique, they are going to get knocked out. This is a very powerful kick. Very, very powerful kick. So, again, from here, don't rob yourself of the technique by stopping it short. Bring it all the way across and through the target. So from here, through the target. And again, the bottom foot, you want to try to pivot on the ball of the foot as best you can for this technique. So from here, around and through, okay? So when you come out of this technique, you're going to be a little bit off balance. Your opponent has a momentary period there where they can pick up on the rotation when you start this technique. It takes a lot to get it started, and it takes a lot to stop it once you go through as well. So when your opponent sees this movement here that you're starting to turn, that's their last chance to get out of the way, whatever they're going to do. Otherwise, you come around with this technique, it's knockout if you hit somebody. We go head level with this technique, and you can aim for the temple, you can aim for the side of the jaw. Anywhere here, you're aiming for the side of the head of your opponent, assuming that they're directly in front of you and that they're facing you. So, looking at this from the side, and this is going to be one of those techniques that you can probably develop one side of the technique. The other side is always going to be a little bit of a struggle when you're doing it. You'll find that with the higher level techniques. Some of them you may only be able to build up on one side, but we still practice both sides regardless. But reverse roundhouse kick, there is reverse roundhouse kick. So once again, coming around, striking. And again, just think like big, wide, swinging motion. Big, wide swing through the target. Right? Just destroy whatever is there. Don't hold back on this technique. Come all the way through. Once you have committed to this technique, there's no stopping it. So, good. From here, practicing a few by count. 2, 3, turn around. 2, 3, turn around. Good. So that is reverse roundhouse kick from a kicking stance.